All right, we got 11 people on already. Hey guys, I know we're 2 minutes early here, so I think we're just going to give it a couple seconds. We wanted to make sure everything works. Let us know if you can't hear us very well. Also, while you're waiting, if you have any questions and you haven't tossed them out on the platform already, go ahead and do that. We have Jesse, myself, and Ashley here, and Ashley's going to be helping make sure that we get to all of those questions, time permitting, as they come up.
Sweet background.
Sweet background. I know, it was either this or doing it in a conference room. We had to showcase Telluride a little bit, right?
Can't quite see the snow from around the corner here.
I know there's snow on the tops. The leaves are almost, all gone, but still some yellow in the hills. Ugh. Cool, so we'll give it just another minute. Let's see a bunch of people joining. We look relaxed.
One person says, I speak for all the Oklahomans when I say we're jealous.
We should have made these like happy hour talks or something.
Right. Everyone's got to have a drink.
Would have been an excuse, I guess. Very good. Well, it's right at 6 o'clock. Thank you guys for joining. I know it's evening time for most everybody. My name is Marc Nager. I am going to be the managing director of the program, TVA program this year. It's going to be my first cohort, and I'm excited to jump in. I think just for a quick little background on myself, I'm one of the co-founders of Startup Weekend. We grew Startup Weekend out of Seattle starting about almost 8 years ago now. And I was fortunate enough to spend the better part of the last 8 years traveling the world, working with a lot of accelerators, co-working spaces, venture funds, the big corporations in the startup world. So I have some amazing insight, but I also grew up in the mountains. I was born in a little mountain town called Mammoth Lakes in California. Beautiful place. So, in the back of my mind, traveling around the world, I always had this thought, like, is it possible to take entrepreneurship to a place like a tiny little mountain town? Because it's not just about these small towns, it's about pushing the envelope of what's possible with entrepreneurship. And I think, how I stumbled across Telluride, actually, my wife Ashley and I were on a ski road trip. We hit 9 different resorts, and we kept asking ourselves, what are the, criteria that we would be looking for if we ever wanted to get back to the mountain towns one day, like half joking, half serious. Anyway, it kind of came to, we need to be able to do something innovative, big thinking, progressive type work to sustain ourselves intellectually and to continue to grow and contribute as people, but also community. And I think Telluride, hands down, has both of those in a more genuine way that we saw anywhere else. And I also think, one of the big reasons we actually met up on our honeymoon with the Startup Weekend organizer, Dennis Linkus, because that's what we do on our honeymoons, I guess. But we were buying him a beer, and he said, hey, there's this program that's getting stood up. It's called TVA. You should check it out. And so that's how we got to be aware of not only a Startup Weekend happening here, but an accelerator happening in a town of 3,500 people. So kind of blew our minds. And, I think I'd like to kind of use that as a segue to intro Jesse Johnson, who was progressive enough, back then to really think about the future of Telluride, what's possible here, and what's already been done here, and kind of connecting the dots. So I guess just thank you for building an incredible foundation, along with TVA and the team before, for TVA, and we're looking forward to the fifth class now. So
yeah, we're really excited to have Marc, and we've had Ashley on board for 2 years now, but now Marc's on board too. So we've got the Nager team, and I really look at it as sort of the second chapter of TVA, because we really have the perfect team in place now, and I think the foundation we've laid over the last 4 years, I think is going to really propel this effort the next 5 years.
Cool. So I don't know, Jesse, if you want to give just a little bit of background. I don't know, what did you see? Yeah. How did this come to fruition? And a little bit of history about the program.
Yeah, well, just a quick history about myself. This Christmas coming up will be I think my 40th Christmas here in Telluride. So I've spent tons of time here. My dad moved here in '75, leaving New York City. My parents were divorced at the time, and he was looking for a place that his kids would want to come visit him, and certainly Telluride fit that bill. And now I'm raising my two kids here. I've got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old now who are in school here. So they're having the childhood that I sort of partially had, but now they're having it completely. But I moved back here full time with my wife in 2011. I spent the previous roughly 10 years in New York City building my own business, and then had the opportunity to sell that in 2011. And then Telluride was supposed to be a 1-year sabbatical on the way back to the East Coast, and we're now going on our 6th year or whatever, which a lot of people have that story here. They intended to come for a month and they've stayed for their lives, and now they have a family. And but when I was, poking around here to see where Telluride was in 2011, so many conversations were taking place here about, how Telluride had become overly dependent on skiing and housing, but yet how it had this incredibly vibrant second home community and just really fascinating people in the community and swirling around, but really no center of gravity. And then Paul Nager, who's head of the Telluride Foundation, and I just started having conversations about, this accelerator model that we visited Techstars a bunch up in Boulder, and they were very helpful along the way. This accelerator model could really, work here in Telluride in a unique way. We've got access to these amazing mentors, incredible investor network, and if you bring in these entrepreneurs and add that, it's just amazing. We just thought it would totally diversify what was already taking place and could, build on Telluride's history of innovation, which I'm sure we'll speak to in a moment. But so 5 years in now, we've had. I should say it's a nonprofit model, which is unique. We partnered with a local community foundation, and so that the equity held in all the companies, it should eventually, or when it turns into something meaningful, it's all reinvested back in the community, and the mentors are all volunteering their time. So it's a really unique model, and it's really worked well in this community. I mean, everyone in this community knows TVA. The mentors are incredibly active with their time. So, that's it in a nutshell.
Perfect. So I think, I just want to hit really quickly on the history of innovation here. I think the big thing, if you guys take away anything from this conversation, like, can you actually solve global problems in the world? Could you actually build a startup and thrive from a place like this? The answer is yes. Again, I've been all over the world. I've seen the, what's out there, and I look at the mentor network here. I look at the people, just the community, the diversity within the community itself of, people who have done phenomenal things. I think, Telluride was the first city in America, in the world actually, to have streetlights lit up by long distance power plant, like electricity. And I think that the AC coil was the first application of Tesla's coil back in the 1800s. And I think that kind of started something. We have an incredible history on mining in the ski area, the resort community here. And, I think it was the first town in 1992 to have access to the internet that wasn't a corporation or university type institution. The first town in America to have access to the internet. So anyway, it was just, just trying to embody, like, big things are coming out of a place like this. I don't know, you were mentioning one from TSRC lately.
Yeah, the recent to those, I think the recent Nobel Prize winners in chemistry were scientists who spent a lot of time here in Telluride with a science program, and they were actually here this summer. So there's just a lot of, as you said, global perspectives.
The Human Genome Project got started here out of TSRC network too, Telluride Science and Research Center, good friends of ours. So, I mean, anyway, I think we can probably get a little more tactical about the program. So I think stats on some of the companies to date.
Yeah, so we have now had 21 companies come through in the 4 years. So we have a few other partner companies that have moved to be part of the TVA community here full time. That group together has now raised somewhere between 15 and 19, depending on one company's closing, which may have taken place in the last day or two. But essentially, we've been able to prove in the last 4 years and set us up for the next 4 or 5 that we get great companies applying. We get companies that really are investable when they come through demo day. The companies we've had each year we have at least one that's fully funded on demo day. So we've proven that there are local investors here or people that they can introduce to Better Invest. And probably most importantly, we have just a world-class mentor network at this point. Started with 9, we're now approaching 100 with a wait list. And we've really tried to prioritize people that have meaningful Telluride connections and meaningful entrepreneurial experience. And we can talk about some of those folks along the way. But I think in the past 4 years, I think we've proven that we've done all those things, and we've done them really well.
I think to your point, the mentor network here, just my perspective, I would actually we ended up selling Startup Weekend, which became Up Global. We sold Up Global to Techstars, and I spent about a year as an executive there. Really close friends. I'm still EIR over at that program. But I can tell you the mentor network here goes toe to toe with any of the big boys. And honestly, some of the access that we have and the quality of the relationships, it's actually really mind blowing. So I can single-handedly attest to that, having been a part of that network, seeing what startups have gotten out of it. Yeah. It really does compete, if not exceed, a lot of the other programs out there, even some of the big boys.
Yeah. And I think one thing we're always reminded of during program is, and our alumni say it too, across the board, is that one of the things that I think is really different about TVA and really unique about TVA versus a lot of other great accelerator programs is not only do you have access to those mentors, but the quality of time you have with those mentors is just so unique in that you're in this beautiful place in Telluride. A lot of these mentors are here, with more downtime than they would if they were, in their day job. So you're able to take hikes, you're able to go skiing, you're able to, ride chairlifts, go over to their house for meals. We're consistently told that quality of time, instead of catching someone when they're rushing from work to go home to see their kids and they're feeling late and they're grabbing a coffee, it's a very different experience to have a mentor walk in after a day of skiing and spend an hour or two here. Just chatting about their experience and what you're working on.
Yeah. So maybe 2 questions for you quick, Jesse. Tee up, maybe just quickly drop some names. I'll tee up just because I think people should hear, some of the quality just as a representation. And then, as you think about the actual companies that we're attracting here, kind of that mentor base, what are some of the expertise that we have on our bench to offer to potential applicants?
Right. Well, yeah, so historically, we have called out certain sort of specific areas that we feel like we have unique expertise in. And while we still feel like we have that expertise, we're not limiting ourselves to just those areas. And those areas, and I think they parallel the strength in our mentor network, those areas are outdoor technology, outdoor recreation. We've had a drone company come through that was doing avalanche mitigation, mountain drones. We've had outdoor clothing companies. Travel and tourism is another one where we have a really strong alumni and strong mentors. 2 that come to mind. Jeff Katz, who was he was the former CEO of Swiss Air, but then started Orbitz.com. Was the CEO of Leapfrog. Just was constantly doing interesting things. He was an entrepreneur in residence here last year, spent a lot of time with our companies, and my understanding is that he's going to be very active going forward.
I've got him on the hook already.
Right. And he knows travel incredibly well. Cheryl Rosner is another one who's been very involved, who was the founding CEO of Hotels.com. Sorry. Yeah. She spends a lot of time here in Telluride. There's Jonathan Harris, who's the head of sales or with the SVP of
Intergalactic Sales.
Intergalactic Sales at GoPro. Spends a ton of time here. Meg Whitman has a home here and has spent some time in the program. She's not a formal mentor, but she's spent some time with our entrepreneurs in the past. We're hoping to get her again this year. Brad Fell has been very involved, and in the past has always met with all of our graduating companies to give them advice. Peter Levine is a partner at Andreessen. Spends a lot of time here. He's a big ice climber. So if you're an ice climber, that's his passion. He'll take entrepreneurs out ice climbing. Jerry Colonna, many of you may know as more of a entrepreneurial coach at this point, but it was with some very successful VC funds in the past. He's very active. And another good example of just your typical full-time local mentors is Jonathan Tuckman, who maybe John's on the call, but so John, I've known John forever, but he worked at Goldman for a while. He was in investment banker, went to business school, but his passion was always the outdoors, and he was a ski patroller here in Telluride. He would go back and forth between New York and Telluride, and now he's head of snow safety on the ski area. So he's the guy who's running the avalanche mitigation program on the ski area in the winter, but he's also down here, working with the companies on their financials, and just he's very involved in the Telluride Venture Fund as well. So just a
kind of quintessential profile right there.
Quintessential profile of a local mentor.
We have some other ones. One I would mention, Moise. Kahari. Moise was actually the head of emerging technologies for the London Stock Exchange. So basically, he was one of the people, small group of people who basically invented blockchain. And I think now he's working with another massive financial institution, top 5 in the U.S. And but he lives and works full time from a place like this.
Yeah.
So,
and we should say that for every, mentor who, like a Jeff Katz, there's probably 4 or 5 who are just, in the trenches, great experience, entrepreneurs who are leading workshops on leadership or, whatever it is. So there's, these are actual real people who have done amazing things in their life, who show up and want to help your company.
I know I'm going to be tapping some of my friends who, I've helped build my business with me, some of my co-founders and other just of the top names I know that have been voted. Literally one of them, Kyle Kesterson, was voted one of the top mentors in the Techstars Seattle program. And so we'll be dragging him out here again to be a part of the program. And yes, to your point, some people that are in the weeds. And I think that's one of the things I'd like to talk a little bit about, just changes in the program in 2017, just things I'm excited about. We've got a lot of these mentors, and I think a lot of accelerators have this question, and entrepreneurs, you guys should. What is the level of commitment that maybe, a Jeff Katz or a Meg Whitman will have? And just being super clear with both the entrepreneurs and the mentors. So that, is it an hour a week? Is it an hour a month? Is it I'll just answer emails, right? And so we'll actually have kind of a 3-tier strategy by the time the program starts. So you'll literally be able to see, how much time, what's the potential for access with these type of people. We'll help you curating those. That said, if you have anybody in our network as you're going through the application process that you'd like to potentially work with, check out our mentor page on the website. Let us know, because knowing that we have companies is more incentive for us to go out and try to recruit those mentors to be as highly engaged as possible. And honestly, when they see cool companies and great entrepreneurs, they get more involved, right? It's just the nature of, it's hard not to fall in love with supporting startups. One of the other things for this year, and I know this is one of the questions, so kind of 2 birds, 1 stone here, but we've got kind of our funding model. We're going to actually have a 2-tiered approach. So the first, for entrepreneurs, you're going to be able to kind of choose for especially high growth companies that are traditional, looking at, evaluating maybe several different accelerators like Techstars, like YC. It's a 5% convertible equity note. So just like the YC Safe Note, Techstars is, basically the same type of thing. Will be the same, actually a little bit more favorable. So only 5% equity for 30 grand, which is actually really great. And the second thing, second option that we're exploring now, we don't have finalized, because as we found out from the Global Accelerator Network with over 80 other managing directors last week, people are talking about this and starting to experiment with this, but we're definitely on the cutting edge. And it's really exciting for entrepreneurs that may be a little bit more like a mid-growth company. I'm not building $1 billion company. I don't want to jump on that, that VC treadmill that's going to force me to have a, growth at all costs or a high, high exit. But maybe a note that looks more like a revenue loan. So with a really friendly grace period, it's basically the most friendly entrepreneurial loan that you could get that, that a bank would never do.
Right.
But the caveat with that is going to be, if you start looking, feeling, smelling like a high growth company, it'll just convert back to the equity type of note. But for most companies,
yeah, I think it's great that we're considering an alternative this year. So it seems I think looking back, we've seen companies that would work really well for. So I think it's great that we're looking at it.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one to check out. If you have questions or thoughts on that, I think it is going to be a little bit of our own customer development process as well. So reach out, let us know. And we're happy to talk more on that. Other things about the program, it was typically a 5-month program. We're actually going to shorten it to 4. I think just the ability to create the value in 4 months here in Telluride. I think that's just as high at 4 months as it was at 5 months. And also the commitment that we're asking entrepreneurs to make. Yeah, I think it's really in line. And I think also just leveraging that network of, we've got a lot of mentors here, continuing to add more value and activate that mentor network, doing fun things. I had one entrepreneur ask if you could take an entrepreneur heli skiing with them, right? It doesn't have to be the extreme, aspect. You don't have to be a skier to, come to Telluride, but if you love the outdoors, it's obviously a great fit, and we're going to try to leverage that. Like the first week of the program, we're going to do a little hut trip. Again, super accessible, but just something fun to get in the outdoors and to really get a feel and connect with the amazing place, the quality of life that is here, because the program is going to be intense. Not going to lie, it's a lot of work, but we want to make sure to have fun. And
it's great to have those outdoor experiences with some mentors.
Exactly.
It really gets them, creates a different relationship.
And there's honestly no other accelerator that has the ability to do that like we do. Which is really cool. So I think we've got a couple more things that we're going to hit. If you have questions, keep them coming. Ashley, or anything that you have really urgent right now? Okay. Let us hit one or two more things, and then we'll start doing Q&A. So Jesse, maybe just if you could kind of profile a little bit, like, the investment philosophy. We're investing in people, just as not, if not more than the companies themselves.
Right.
So, like, who are the people? Kind of describe the people in the companies that have historically, and you think will in the future thrive here and in the program.
Yeah, I think the ones that have really taken the most advantage of the program and gotten the most out, are, again, it comes down to the people. Like, who is the person or the people who are leading this effort, leading your company, and when you put them in an environment where basically clean slate. You can get really engaged with the community here and the mentor network and really dig in, or you can sort of get by and get the bare minimum. I mean, the companies, such as in life, but the companies that that really have thrived here and get fully funded on on Demo Day are the companies that they're really getting involved with the community. I think of. And they love and appreciate the outdoors. It's to them, it's not a luxury. It's something that is very vital to their well-being and helps them think more clearly and strategize more clearly and stay passionate day to day. If they can get out, on a 5 p.m. run or a 5 p.m. mountain bike ride or early morning, cross country ski, like they just come in, fully loaded and ready to go in their day. So, I think it's a go-getter type, frankly, that loves the outdoors that I think really thrives here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the companies, kind of building on that point, like we've had such a diverse, from drones to AI companies to, clothing companies to pet food companies, right? Like such a diversity. So, I think when in doubt, assume that it's probably a fit. And, as we go through evaluations, I know I'll speak for myself, but I know Jesse too, and the structure that we've built, we're not going to waste anybody's time. If we think we can give you an unfair advantage as an entrepreneur for you and your company, right, that's when we're going to lean in and try to help you. So, we're not going to waste your time if we don't think we can actually help you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'd encourage you as we start to move to questions, what are the things that, as you think, if you're talking to a friend and your friend asks, hey, G, what do you think about TVA? What would be your concerns? Well, I don't know about this.
Right.
Feel free to ask the tactical questions like, is it hard to get there? I love that one.
The other thing I should just say about thriving within the program, and I think two things that we have seen, and perhaps it's stating the obvious again, but just it's worth saying, I think, is, people who really have a depth of knowledge in their specific area that they're coming into this, whether it's, outdoor clothing or, educational programs or health and wellness, if they have really tangible, meaningful life experience in those areas, they tend to thrive more in this environment because they may really know their area, but they don't know how to start a business, or they may or they don't know how to fund a business or whatever it is. But we can pull in the rest of it as long as they've got sort of that core nucleus. The other is traction. This is a program that's really going to kick into gear in early March. Demo Day is typically July 1. So, our mentors are going to be seeing where your company is on day one, and they'll be seeing where you are on July 1. And that trajectory, that change is really, if you can, we've had companies come in from an idea to revenue, come in from an idea to basically having everything mapped out. Some of our best companies, and they just, the progress is, really that they can make in that short period is really what people are watching.
And I think because I saw this as a question, stage, do we work with seed stage companies? I think just to answer that, we've had companies apply, get in, that already have $1 million in revenue. We've also had zero in revenue. And I think the key thing to think about what we're looking for is we want more than just an idea. We want to have some kind of semblance of, product market fit, who your customer is, what the value proposition is, right? Some of the startup rhetoric, because it's much easier for us in our network to help you accelerate, definition of accelerator, building that company and pursuing that, working out the mechanics, than it is, just honing in the very early stage of an idea.
Yeah. And then, perhaps it's stated too much in the accelerator application world, but just the idea of a team versus an individual. Yeah. We followed that advice when we started from folks that advise us from Techstars, and it's proven to be true. We've taken sole founders, and we probably will take a sole founder in the future. But the ability for a team, a well-oiled team, to move forward is so much easier, frankly, on the team. And just progress. We end up spending a lot of time with individual founders, helping them build out their team while they're here, and that slows down their progress. And as opposed to having a team that's ready to go day one, yep, and just off to the races.
Exactly. Cool. Ashley, we'll turn it to you if you want to kind of curate and field us some questions we may not have answered yet.
Cool. So the first one we already answered one. The next one is, could you explain the debt financing option and why more accelerators should use that option versus the typical equity stake?
Yeah, debt financing. I think there's kind of a movement that, especially outside of the top 2 or 3 markets, the New York, San Francisco's, kind of the unicorn VC strategy is kind of dead, or at least it doesn't work for everybody. And so the idea is, can we actually, just because you have ambitions or potential to be a $5 or $10 million company, that doesn't make you bad. But kind of in the VC unicorn model, that does make you a bad thing. But in a place like Telluride, we actually really love to support some of those companies that, might be, they're not unicorn potential, but they have amazing, meaningful, valuable, sustainable business models. And so I think that our goal is really to find financial instruments that help enable that and don't put you on the other track. That is a little bit more just the Silicon Valley model of building companies.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've all seen companies that could have been that $10, $20 million revenue, but they had institutional backing that was shooting for the moon, and they just had to keep growing and growing, trying to grow and grow and grow, and some make it, but many don't. So we're hoping that this model is, can help facilitate the growth of, some more, great $10, $15 million companies.
Exactly. And just one example, Western Rise from last year's class. I kind of have a thesis around, and I've been working with a lot of the folks I know around the nation talking about this, kind of the future of Main Street. And I think folks like Western Rise, that want to call Telluride, a place like Telluride home, have some type of physical presence, but they're still doing most of their business online. Yeah. I think that's a good example and a good visualization of why it matters to a place like Telluride. Yeah. Because it's about the community. It's not just about building the company. They're a real value and something exciting for our entire community.
Yeah. We also have, we have an interest in, it's not required for the program, but we have an interest in some of the companies that are in next year's cohort, to attract them to stay and build their businesses here in Telluride. And that's not for every business, but there are businesses that it works really well for. Western Rise is one. We've had, I think, roughly 5 or 6 of our alumni companies end up staying, in Telluride or the direct region. And again, it's not for everyone, but we want to help make that happen. And we think a funding option like this is going to be more conducive for those type of companies.
Exactly. So we're working on those terms. We've got some really great world-class lawyers helping us on that. So once we get them, we'll post them live so everybody can see out in the open.
Okay, next question. Will any TVA alumni be speaking / mentoring during the program?
Absolutely. We've already got a number of them. We just mentioned Western Rise, but there's a handful of the alumni founders that we want to bring in, especially in the beginning, how to get the most out of the program from people who have done it, right? They're actually going to be, we're doing an AMA. The next one is on the 15th, and we're going to have a couple of alumni founders here speaking, giving some experience. Yeah, I think a big part of the value is in the network, not just with the really experienced mentors, but also with the alumni.
Yeah, I think last year there was like 4 or 5 or so.
Yeah.
I think for different stages for different, some were here for a week and some for a day or two.
Yeah, and I mean, we have some companies, some alumni founders that are now in that category of they've built real businesses, incredible revenue, multi-million revenue, right? Like started to scale big teams,
Yeah.
right? So they've been in the trenches and they're successful and they're doing it, which is cool.
Great. Next question is, how does the program differ in dealing with a company with intellectual property?
Dealing with intellectual property. I think that's we handle that on a case-by-case basis. So it depends what the IP is, the type of company. We'll work with on that. But in general, if you have IP, depending on the stage, as long as you have the ability to get out, put that in front of customers, get feedback, build a business, test a business model around that. That's something I know a lot of our mentors and our team has experience with. So absolutely, when in doubt, apply, and we'll tell you if we can't help you or if it might not be a fit.
And he actually said rather development of IP. So how does
development of IP?
Yeah.
How do we help with that?
How do we differ in dealing with a company in developing IP? And Tyler, chat me if that's not the right question.
So development of IP, yeah, we've got some great lawyers who are mentors as part of the program. They'll be out helping with sessions. So,
I think the last 2 years we've had Paul Tamita, who's one of our mentors, come for a week, who's an IP lawyer who, dig in with every company about what is your IP strategy. He's helped do filings as necessary. So I think we had a lot of good strength there. And we have a lot of mentors who have filed IP for their businesses that can advise. So I don't know how unique that is. I would think that most programs would have that, but I think we have really strong resources there.
And I think just my experience, there's traditional incubator models who have sometimes they really facilitate and push the IP, and some accelerators that won't even touch the IP. I think, we're kind of in the middle. We're going to help you not waste a bunch of money on IP, that's for sure. That may not be patentable and may not be needed, whatever it is. We're not going to tell you just to, do it to go do it. But if it is warranted, we've got, world-class advice, and we'll help you facilitate and make that process cheap and easy, at least as we can.
Great. The next question is, in the FAQ, it says housing is secured prior. Does that mean it's paid for? I know rent prices in Telluride are at a premium. How much should teams expect to pay out of pocket for room and board, et cetera?
Yeah, so we're working, especially through our mentor network. There's a number of people who have, either spare houses, rooms, or, they're not going to be here for the duration or most of the program, that type of thing. So we work to secure those through our network beforehand so that there is some kind of inventory. We also just kind of peruse the local listings, and, we've got kind of connections and, friends in town. So we've got kind of the inside track on making sure that we get, affordable, functional things.
Yeah, it's worked every year. I mean, it definitely requires some additional work. And what we do is we try to facilitate. Ultimately, it's the company's responsibility to sign the lease and make payment, et cetera. But it's, every year it's worked. We have access to some short-term lodging right near TVA as needed. It's not free, but it's more affordable. Again, we've had companies in second homes or in back houses, or companies where mentors are not there for the month.
We've had companies share some houses.
We facilitated the rental where 3 companies were in the same, ski in, ski out house. So yeah, we figure it out. It's not always easy, but we figure it out.
Yeah, and we'll work with you. And I just want to own the fact, Telluride's not the cheapest place to live in terms of rent. That said, coming from Seattle or San Fran, a lot of my peers and friends, living in almost any major metro, it's still at least on par, if not cheaper than a lot of those cities, rent-wise. So,
right.
It's not like living, in Iowa, or North Dakota, but it's
Yeah.
certainly cheaper than most major cities still. And I think the ability to find it, especially with our help, is quite easy.
Yeah, really we moved the program back a little bit this year too, so we overlap less with ski season, which is I think it's gonna make things easier this year too.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question is, what kind of qualities do you look for when choosing companies?
I think we hit a little bit of that question, but if I had to kind of reiterate a couple of things, and feel free to jump in just a bit. We're looking at the founders. We're looking at the people above all else, right? Who are you? What's driving you? You know, how committed are you? You know, and you know, will you thrive in a place like Telluride? And then when we're looking at the companies, we want to see companies again that have some product market fit, something that we can really help, you know, through our network, through our experience, really help give you an unfair advantage as a startup.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've always thought about it in the review process is, you know, a huge amount of it is the individuals and who are these people, you know, what have they done in their past, how have they proven themselves in the past, are they entrepreneurial, have they proven that they, you know, can solve problems and think creatively, and then two, what's the market that this area is, what this idea is going after, and specifically, you know, is it an attractive market, is it growing, you know, under that, specifically on the idea, you know, how does those three things are really the key things in my mind that our reviewers and our mentors are the folks that are reviewing these applications. So I don't know if that was obvious, but and all of us too. But.
Yeah, and actually we've got almost exactly the same evaluation criteria on the platform itself throughout Success as Techstars, and I think it's team, market, product. So you know, product or idea. So, you know, as you think about it, it's again overly emphasized on the team and the people. Yeah. But looking at the product and the market.
Another question we get asked a lot, and worth emphasizing on this is application advice. I think. Yeah.
A couple tips, tricks that you might have.
I mean, you probably have some too. In my opinion, the videos are one. Are we doing one video this year?
One video.
One video. In the past we've had two, but this year we'll have one. And I would emphasize it doesn't have to be slick, but it has to be short and sweet and informative. Because in my experience, if you're a mentor and you're busy and you're reviewing 5 applications over the course of a weekend, I think you go to the video first, frankly, and to get a quick synopsis of it and to understand who these people are and what they're doing. So, you know, put some thought into the video. Again, the production quality doesn't matter. No. And then I think in terms of being very concise, I mean, I think we say that there's recommended limits, but frankly, if it's 4 sentences versus 3 paragraphs, you're going to get a lot more people reading it and absorbing it.
Absolutely, I would say leverage us too. Reach out beforehand if you want advice on your app. Like Ashley and I are here for you. Look at just do a little bit of the homework and don't be afraid to reach out. We want to help you. We want to help identify if there's a fit.
And there's way to do updates on the system so that if you submit your application and then some major things happen, you can add those to your application and everybody reviewing sees it.
Yep.
Great. The next question is, does your program accept fintech companies or fintech
Absolutely. We actually have I would call that one of our bigger strengths in terms of experience on our mentor bench too. You mentioned John, but we have a ton of ex CEO of Goldman Sachs entering our network. We've got a ton of private equity people, some other lots of venture capital background, investment banking, CFO from a bank. I think
Anyway, absolutely. I mean, we've looked at, we had gotten very close in the past, but we haven't found one of our 19 or none are in that area. But we believe that we've got the right network and the right mentors group to be really helpful there.
Unbelievable network, I would say. Like seriously, if you're out there and you're in fintech, let us know, and we can definitely see if we can help you out. Especially, there's fintech on the edge of blockchain. I mentioned Moise earlier, literally one of the guys who invented it and was helping create the platforms that, were the basis for trillions of dollars of trading on a daily basis.
Cool. Next question is, what if only one founder can be there physically due to cost? would you consider the CEO in person and the other team members remote? And are the advisors, mentors open to Skype sessions with the entire team?
I think absolutely, like when in doubt, again, we'd love to have the conversation with you. We don't have any like, if it's only one, like we won't let you in type thing. We have seen, this is both experience and kind of a Techstars thing as well as TVA. We have seen teams that have multiple founders here, make more progress, thrive a little bit more when they're together. I think it's just, a lot of work actually gets done outside of the office. And I think being part of a program like this, it's just a big opportunity to take advantage of as a founder, to be close to your other co-founders.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would just say, don't let the concern on that, keep you from applying. Because we have had companies in the past where the reality was such that one of the co-founders was here, pretty much the whole program, and one was finishing up another job that they had on the West Coast. So we can make it work for the right company.
Yeah, and just let us know. Be honest. If there's things that we can do to help facilitate that too, or why you think it'll work for you and your co-founder. Especially, for example, have you guys worked on remote teams before? Right, like huge plus, because that's actually a valuable skill to develop. And I've seen co-founders do it really, really well. We had a very distributed team. I helped build one. I've worked with a lot of them. Some people can do it, some people can't. So I think that would just be part of the screening process.
Great. And that's it. Any other questions, everybody?
Yeah, feel free, throw in any other questions. We got a bunch of people still on. Maybe, Jesse, I could toss another question to you.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the program, some of the history, but what excites me a lot, and I think Fawcett, one of our local entrepreneurs, says this: you're not just building a company in Telluride, you're building a community.
Yeah.
You're really part of a bigger ecosystem.
Right.
Do you want to talk about that?
That was the vision when we started, and we never, no one involved really knew where it was going to go. And I think now we're entering our 5th year, the amount of activity that has come and developed in this community by efforts of mentors or other entrepreneurs that have a great idea and they run with it. There's a Telluride Venture Fund that exists here now, which has funded roughly 50% of the TVA grads. There's 3 local gender partners who are full-time locals, and then there's probably about 10 or so LPs, all of whom are second homeowners who love this effort, love entrepreneurship, maybe professional investors in their career, and are interested in supporting TVA companies. That's one. We now have an angel community that Marc helped start, and our mentor Len. They've had 5 or so gatherings with some Telluride companies, some TVA companies, and some non-Telluride companies coming and presenting. And a lot of them are having success.
Almost a 70% hit rate.
Yeah.
So far, at least that I can track right now, with companies coming into that. It just, again, speaking to there's a lot of really experienced people here with a lot of investment experience. I think that's one of our biggest assets.
Yeah. Another really cool thing that's happening that we're doing in February, you're welcome to attend, but Telluride, now that we're going on 5 years in, we're really far along in this journey as a community and around entrepreneurship. And we have an accelerator, we have the venture fund, we have the angel network.
Co-working space opening.
We've got a co-working space. We've got all these new local companies. We had a company that was on Shark Tank, about 6 months ago or so. So you're just seeing all this incredible activity. And over the years, we've had other communities, Jackson, Park City, Truckee, other mountain communities.
Mammoth, Aspen, Vail, Steamboat.
Yeah. Look and say, Telluride seems to be doing a lot of things, and everyone's going the same direction. And so we're actually going to host a gathering with Mammoth right here in early February, Mountain Venture Summit, to basically talk about this and how do mountain towns, what's their role in this emerging economy where you can work remotely and you can have team members in different communities, and we're seeing it now with all these new little companies that are starting here and the problems they're facing and how can we help them. So Telluride has been really fortunate to be able to lead that conversation.
I think we can, safely say like we're really on to something and, actually ahead of something, that's tapping into a lot of bigger macro trends. We talk about the future of work, the ability to work on distributed teams, to solve big problems from anywhere in the world. Not only has Telluride had the history of that, right? Like I think these macro trends are really playing into, yes, like you can do this, and there are communities and networks and ecosystems that will help you thrive. And I think we're just part of something much, much bigger, which I think is exciting for all entrepreneurs. If you showed up on this call today, like there's a reason you showed up, and I think you're not crazy. Well, all entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy, right?
I love starting things, Marc. Marc loves starting things that we can relate to that feeling.
We're entrepreneurs.
Like, this. I got to get this thing out into the world, and I'll do anything to make it happen. So, we can. This whole community embraces that and thrives on that passion.
I think maybe that's a big point too. Is this program is kind of for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. This isn't class. This isn't school. We know that you have businesses to build, but we're going to help. Put the pressure on and help you through that, both, in a way that's going to, help you grow as an individual, but help your companies grow as well, and help you as individuals be more likely to succeed, whether it's this venture or the next one.
I was curious, now that you're sort of had 2 years, 1 year very much closer, but another year with actually doing the remote thing of sort of seeing TVA evolve, like, curious, what you think and where you sort of see it going in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I think, I've had a lot of my close friends get to visit who are deep in the startup world as well. And I think they kind of show up a little bit skeptical, and I show them around just casually, not engineering anything, just introduce them to the community. And they're just like, wow, this is real. This is like you're living in the future, Marc. You're kind of cheating at life, which I admit. But I think that's exciting, and again, it's part of something much bigger that we're seeing the entire world go towards. So looking ahead 2 years, I think we're going to see more of these technologies, more solidification on how to help companies that will thrive in places like this, and honestly, for it to be a little bit more culturally accessible. I remember when I started my company, or initially before Startup Weekend and then Startup Weekend. I swear my mom and my grandmother thought I was like dealing drugs or something. They just didn't get entrepreneurship. Right. Like you're not going to school again. You're not starting a business, or you're not getting a job at a big company. Right. Yeah. And it's actually no. I think the millennial generation, MTV recently had this thing where they dubbed the generation after millennials the founder generation. Super fascinating. But again, I think we're not just part of it. We're really leading that from this tiny little box canyon, which is really fun.
Cool. That's it. That's all we got.
That's all we got. Okay, what do we got time-wise? Maybe a few more minutes. I don't know. Do you guys want to hear anything else? We got still a bunch of people on. All right, we haven't screwed anything up to that, Jesse.
Nice.
Let's see. We talked.
I think it would be interesting, like every year we ask our grads, sort of what are the things that stand out in their minds about this program.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, I think that's relevant for all of you, because some of you in the audience will be grads, fingers crossed, from TVA. And I'll touch on it again, but it's worth restating that that quality of time with mentors. I don't think you're going to find a program, frankly, anywhere you look around the world that has such a unique setup whereby you're in this incredibly gorgeous place where you can literally walk out your backyard and you can go hiking, and you're just immersed in nature so quickly. And so when you get mentors like Jeff Katz and Cheryl Rosner and Jonathan Harris here, they are just in a different frame of mind. They're in their place they're in their community that they love the most in their life, and that is just a different thing.
They want every excuse to spend more time here, and I think I've kind of jokingly called it like the New Age ski club. Yeah. Right. This is the ability for them not to just connect with the physical place, but the intellectual capital and community that's here. And I think being able to work on innovative, creative ideas with passionate entrepreneurs is, we see it ignite them everywhere around the world. But I think, to your point, it's in a very different context and in a really great way.
Yeah.
Here in Telluride.
And then another thing I think people recognize is the community. I mean, I think people who spend time here and you live here, you know that there's a unique community here. You know, it's just you gotta kind of go out of your way to be here, living here in Telluride, and
it's a hard place to get to. Let's own that, right? Like,
right.
What's your response?
Well, I guess I'm just saying that the community that fosters, you know, everyone that is living here is here because they absolutely want to be here, and this is the place that keeps them feeling passionate about life. And that sense of community, I feel like, in my experience, quickly transfers over to the TVA companies. I mean, I remember hearing stories that, you know, TVA companies coming, you know, checking into the hotel the day before, and the person that was checking in was like, "Oh, are you part of the TVA?" Or like, "Oh, you know," and so it's unlike a large city where you're sort of anonymous. Here, you're a member of, you know, TVA, and the people working the restaurants will be asking you questions about it. They'll, you know, your waiter will be like, "Oh, I've got a cool idea. Let me listen to this idea." That happened the other night. So it's it's just an incredibly great community. We have people that founded companies that are living locally who work in, you know, volunteer for the fire department, or, you know, do coding in the high school, and it's just, you know, it's become part of the community, which is really wonderful to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I just want to hit on like because everybody always asks, like, isn't that like incredibly hard to get to? The answer is like not as hard as you think, for a couple of reasons. I love to say it's only a 30-minute flight from Denver. It is an hour and 15-minute drive to the main airport here in Montrose. But from Montrose, you can fly direct to Chicago, Dallas, in high season, Houston, New York, San Francisco, and LA. But that's basically, you know, everywhere that you might need to go. If in worst case, out of Denver, you have literally, I'll be hopping on a direct flight to Tokyo in December from 30 minutes away. And the drive from Telluride to Montrose is about an hour and 15 minutes. My co-founder Frank was just here, and he flew back to New York, and I asked him, "How long does it take you to get home?" And he said, "Well, as long as traffic's not bad, about an hour." I'm like, "Well, my drive's way better than you sitting in traffic or something." So, and then we also have the local airport, which, you know, FAA had new regulations 2 years ago, which kind of discontinued service, but they upgraded everything. And so now new flights starting December 18th in and out of Telluride in high season, probably summer and winter. But flights were only, I think, in and out of Denver. Yeah. Flights were only $160 round trip if you were to get them, you know, far in advance. So and I can ride my bike to the airport, which that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely, you know, unique in terms of it's a destination. But as you say, like, I mean, when I was living in
you know, what's important to you.
Cool.
All right, guys. So just a reminder, we're available at any time. We're Marc, Jesse, and Ashley at TellurideVA.com. You know, reach out, email us. We're here. We'll hop on the phone, whatever. You know, a big part of this is making sure, you know, it's a fit for you, it's a fit for us, and we want to help you through that process. So don't be afraid to reach out. We've got 2 more AMAs. The next one is November 15th. Again, we'll have more alumni on that one. And then December 6th, we'll have actual mentors who have been part of like the evaluation process and everything, kind of with the December 15th, 16th deadline to get applications in. And if you know any other cool companies out there, feel free to let them know. We also did just launch a neat contest in January called the Mountain Founders Contest. We're basically giving away a free week of hotel skiing and co-working. So, you know, if you're a skeptic or you know somebody who is, or you just want to come test it out, you know, let people know. That's been a really successful thing so far.
Yeah, and I guess the parting thought is we hope you apply. You know, if you have any doubts, apply. I mean, we've had, you know, taken several companies who were like last minute applications. Were like, well, we didn't know if, you know, we'd be a good fit, and you know, so don't let your concerns about whether you're a good fit or whether it's going to be too hard to get here, or whether housing's going to be too hard, stand in the way of an application. We can figure all that stuff out later, but you know, we just encourage you to apply.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jesse.
Yeah,
thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you guys for joining.
For your time.
More importantly,
Come be a part of it.
Yeah, come join us. The sun's down now. You guys have a good evening. Take care, and hope to hear from you soon.
Cool.